usually see a surge of popular breeds after a movie, and people want to capitalize. Most Malinois sell to a private owner without a good background search on you and your lifestyle and how dedicated you are to the dog.
They look like pretty tough animals. Are they sometimes used as like security pets?
Absolutely,
things like that?
Absolutely. We do a lot of personal protection dogs. We do still kind of discourage private homes from the Malinois. Mostly we use them in law enforcement and military.
What makes this dog like such a great working dog or a protection type dog?
Their intensity and their energy level, their agility, they're really durable. A lot of breeds can't take the kind of work that you can put the Malinois through.
Well, talk a little bit about that work, because you were mentioning full-time work. It takes, you have to kind of, your life has to revolve around this pet.
Absolutely. This dog. It's one of those things where if you don't focus every aspect around what you're trying to build with your dog, they can get away from you quick and chew up your couch and maybe start going after people because their innate drives are so strong.
That's the thing, is most people that have a house pet, yes, they love their pets, they give them attention, but not the type of attention that these demand.
Right. Yeah. And
I mean, just going for a walk or playing fetch outside isn't going to cut it.
It doesn't.
Okay.
It cuts it for about 30 seconds. And
and then you've got 23 and a half hours left of the day to figure it out, right?
Exactly.
So what's the name of your company, and what else do you guys do?
Canine Defense. We do a lot of law enforcement training. We have classes that we put on to help teach handlers how to do better with their dogs, get more out of their dogs.
Is it specifically this breed, or you work with all breeds? Or
mostly the Malinois. But we do work with all breeds.
If people have questions, you have a website or anything like that?
We do. CanineDefense.com.
All right, awesome.
Thanks, George.
Yeah, thank you all for coming in,
guys. Thank you
for handling that cute little pup.
Good information. We appreciate that.
Hey, Ron.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, guys, 8:16, and we are going to take you live to Washington and get you the very latest info as the Supreme Court hands down a major ruling that literally affects millions of Americans. Obamacare sails through the court on a 6-3 vote. Fox's Shannon Bream joins us live. Shannon, I always love the chance getting to get your perspective on this. Look, we can talk about the politics of it in a minute. I'd like to talk about what is the practical impact of the court's ruling today on people who would be involved with this health care.
Well, if they're one of the millions of people who are getting subsidies that help them to afford the now mandatory health insurance we all have to have, it's good news for them. Those subsidies aren't going anywhere, so the assistance they get so they can afford coverage is going to stay in place. So good news for them, good news for the administration, who all along has said it is confident that it was going to win. The president said it. Josh Earnest, White House press secretary, has said it numerous times too. There was no backup plan. Even the HHS secretary, Sylvia Burwell, said no backup plan. We're confident we're going to win. They took a bit of a gamble in a lot of people's estimation, but they did win here today, and that means those subsidies that are helping folks across the country are going to stay in place. Of course, critics say those subsidies never should have been extended, and that is taxpayer money. It's your dollars, my dollars, and they don't feel like they're being used appropriately. But at least 6 of the justices came together here today to say, yep, that's the correct interpretation. The subsidies stay in place.
Does it really boil down to, Shannon, whether or not these health care exchanges were run by the state or the feds? That seems like a sort of an in-the-weeds kind of argument.
Yeah, what the law says is the subsidies, that money to help folks afford their health insurance, would go into states that have exchanges established by the state. Those are the words.
Gypsum, you can see it right here. Gypsum helps out.
Changes. The president was very critical of the Supreme Court for even taking up the case.
My estimation are ambiguous. He and 5 other justices said, for us, if it's ambiguous, we look to people have insurance and did what he knew would preserve the blistering dissent. Said, listen, this court has decided to now perform gymnastics anytime it wants to save a law. In this case, Obama essentially his estimate of the United States instead of it's going to hurt the legacy of the court that they've ignored just the plain language and done a gymnastics job in order to save the law.
Hey, Shannon, when I saw that the vote was 6-3 and that the key swing vote, Anthony Kennedy, jumped on board with the liberal justices, I almost thought to myself, it's sort of like he's saying, look, this is the established law of the land, so let's move on. What was your take on it?
Yeah, I think That's basically, I mean, the justices wouldn't put it in that format, but that's a legal analysis. Those four words mean what they mean on their face. And we have to look, the federal exchanges to function like the state exchanges and to avoid the type of calamitous result that Congress plainly meant to avoid. So he says, listen, regardless of what that one phrase says, I think Congress meant everybody across the country gets these subsidies, and that's necessary to the law functioning. So that's what we're going to do.
There you go, everybody. Shannon Bream staying focused for us in Phoenix with all those protesters about 50 feet away. Okay, Shannon, thanks.
If you would have stopped.
Patty cakes?
Gentlemen.
Next.